Okay, this video is going over basically one of the word problems in homework 5, I think it is. There's a cardboard box that you're supposed to cut the corners out of. A cardboard slab of cardboard that you're supposed to cut the corners out of and fold up the edges to make a box. So I'm drawing a picture, and in the word problem it tells you to call this distance x, the distance you're cutting in. So you're basically cutting in little squares. And so when you're done, you're going to have something that looks like this. That's horrible. But okay, so by cutting out these edges, then we can fold these things, cutting out the corners, we can fold these things up, and it'll turn into a box if you tape it together, right? So the question is, can you write a formula for volume? Well, we know the volume of a box is length times width times height. But they want us to write an equation for volume in terms of x, where x is the distance I'm cutting in these corners. And they did say the corners are supposed to be squares, so I would cut in the same distance on this side as I do on that side. So if you look at this for a little bit, you see that the flaps being folded up are going to be x inches tall. So x would be my height. So basically what I'm going to do is replace each one of these things with something involving x. And the height can just replace with x. Okay? Now the length would be this distance right here, or that distance right there. And the width we'll call this distance right here. So what we discover is we start out with a cardboard slab that's 18 inches long, and we cut off x inches from this side and x inches from that side. So the length, in other words, the bottom part of the box, the length of the base, is going to be 18 minus 2 x's. Because I start out with a total distance of x, cut off one x there, cut off a second x there. So that gives me 18 minus 2x. And of course, we'll do a similar logic to find the other side. 14 is the total length, cut off an x there, cut off an x there. So that leaves me with 14 minus 2x. Okay? So then the second part of the question, it asks you to talk about the domain of this new function we found. Well, since it's a polynomial, the domain would be all real numbers. But because of the context of the problem, it isn't all real numbers. Because x is limited by, for example, if I cut more than halfway through this piece here, in other words, if I cut in 7 inches, that means I cut in 7 inches from this side, and there wouldn't be any flap to flap up. So the biggest my cut could be is, well, it can't be 7 inches or any more than that. So it has to be less than 7 inches. So we'd say that x has to be less than 7 inches. But also x has to at least be bigger than 0, because again, if I don't cut at all, there won't be any flaps to turn up. So that means x has to be bigger than 0. So if we write that interval notation, we'd say between 0 and 7 with soft brackets on both sides, because I don't want to include x or 0 or 7. All right.